concerned, and not only in a higher education level, but also secondary schools, and mobile clinics in Masai Mara and in Samburu County, especially in the remote areas, the health service is not accessible. I'm very happy to be able to participate today in this place, in this meeting, and being able also to hear the big impacts many other stakeholders are just making in our society in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. I would like to inform all of us here present that we are live on all MKU social media and TV47, so we can keep in touch. Now, allow me to invite Africa Education Development Trust, Ali Ngaruya, the benefactor, to be present.
Good morning. Good morning. Ali Ngaruya sends his apologies. He could not make it today. Ali Ngaruya sends his apologies. He cannot make it today. As for Africa Education and Development Trust, we offer interest-free study loans. We support students for their master's program, undergraduate, diploma. We disburse fees on a semester basis, and we give the parents monthly repayment. Basically, we just do education financing, and so far, we have been supporting a lot of Mount Kenya beneficiaries. We've been working together with Mount Kenya, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we are doing very well now. We have our big partners here present. Family Bank Foundation. The Family Bank Foundation. If they have not arrived, we can now have I&M Bank Foundation. Tupigie makofi yakiingia. Thank you, most welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning. Yeah, my name is James Katere from I&M Foundation, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. As I come here, I seek to see how better we who are already in the space of sponsoring and supporting students and working with them through both secondary and tertiary.
Right, live pictures there from Westlands. That is the ongoing Mount Kenya University breakfast meeting on matters education, scholarship and funding. And as earlier alluded, we were boots on ground. There's George Maringa, who earlier was speaking to Koigi, who's executive director of the Mount Kenya University Foundation, as well as the DVC, and he also spoke to the DVC matters administration, and both gentlemen really talking about how MKU largely is focusing on the whole higher education funding. So back in around September, there's a whole higher education funding model, and so overboard over the months there has been a whole uproar on how education funding should really be done in the country. There are challenges. We'll be discussing this with an expert on the same, an educationist, Dr. Donald Asiku Okumu. Karibu sana.
Asante.
I can see your, first off, your whole counter suit reminds me, wabunge wameambiwa sikaribie hapo na counter suit. So I think I should be asking you for your tailor. But anyway, you need a candle attend.
Asante.
Let's the whole education funding. First off, many years ago, and right now, when you compare years back and right now, there have been, different kind of governments, trying different, things, and different also education cabinet secretaries, and just recently there's a whole new funding model. Could you assess how things were done back in the day and now?
Thank you very much, Stanley. First of all, I want to mention that my name's Donald Asiku Okumu, the director and founder of Daima Afya Medical Center, and also an educationist. By this, I mean being the first pioneers of this, they just concluded KCPE, the 400 marks back then in 2005. One of the things that gave us morale to acquire those marks were the urge to go into a better high school, and then later on land into public universities, because those days the public universities were more of taking the cream of the societies. That is what gave us the morale. Then I remember very well, HELB was the people used to call it boom. That particular time was the major funder of our education that particular time, and this really helped the students, or even the pupils who were joining university that particular time. Unlike currently, that the new model that has just been pumped in, that the government is going to take care of, at least it has been categorized into three categories. That is the vulnerable, extremely vulnerable, which are going to receive 100% of the funding, and then the needy will take 53%, and then the less needy will take around 93%. I think this is going to download more on parents, and looking at the current situation in the country where the burden is going back to the parents. We need to look into it, because the morale to the parents and the morale to even the students, and the morale even to those who are working hard in class is really going down. So we really need to look into the matter. As the educationists across the board, we need to really look into it so that we are able to get back. Because I remember back then, let me talk of medical fraternity. I remember my pioneers who started this. Whenever they used to go to school, like medical students, to be specific, used to be, even the moment you are called to go into university to pursue medicine, pharmacy, nursing, anything in medical health sciences, you are paid. People are being paid by that particular time. By the time you step into first year, you get, like I remember my lecturer, Dr. D.K. Gikonyo, was talking about 159 shillings back then in the days, which was a lot of money to them, and it was a morale. Yeah. But currently, the situation has changed, and the morale, even for these learners, has really gone down, and the burden is to the parent. Yeah. So we really need to look into the matter. We really need to replan. We really need to see how best we can fund. Best that currently we are having HELP, and also we are having CDF that is also coming in to help these particular learners. The whole thing is still going back to the parent, because even if CDF will pop in, even if the HELP will pop in, according to the new strategies, like the president just pumped in another 78 billion shillings into the education sector. But again, how the criteria used to distribute this to that particular, the end user, the learner, it's not 100% utilized. So we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to really sit back again to see how best we can help these students, because the morale has really gone down based on the current criteria. That is my take.
All right. And you talk about the whole criteria, and I'm curious, do you think each university should have now its own kind of criteria? Because, I mean, earlier on we were listening to the MKU DVC and admin planning, that is Dr. Peter Kirera, talking about how MKU has its own internal kind of funding. Now, should public and also private universities really have such kind of a whole criteria to know, even without the government really, before the government even comes in, universities really having their own kind of criteria?
Thank you. Stanley, to be honest, let's look at this matter from the point when these children, let's look at a child who comes from a public a public high school and a private high school landing into university as a higher learning. The lecturer looks at these children should look at these children from the first angle, or from zero, that these are from the same level.
Okay.
And therefore, let's not talk about each university having its own funding, but let's have something that is unique. Let's have something that is universal across the board, so that student A and student B is not able to say that this one is a private and this one is like our time we used to be having a self-sponsored and public-sponsored. Because I remember even myself, I was under government sponsorship. But then at the end of the day, there are those who used to come in as parallel. We used to call them watoto wa sonko or masos. But at the end of the day, you find that most of the parents have sold, because the chances for the public, those who are being taken in as the public, from the general public, was so low. So most parents could sell properties to come and sponsor their children. So it is something that is taken, it is assumed that those who come in as private sponsored are from rich families, which is totally different. I have witnessed those parallel sponsored dropping out because now maybe they sold all their parcels of land, or maybe their property. So all these institutions should look at these things so that when these students come in, they are taken in as one, not as a private, not as coming from public. I think that one will bring a level of equity across, and morale will be equal.
And you mentioned, even the parents going to the whole extent of selling the parcel of land. Ndio somesha mtoto and the university, maybe to be the doctor, lawyer, whatever. Do you think the whole university funding has, over the time, lost its value? Because case in point, you have 2 Form 4 leavers here. One of them goes out of school, finishes Form 4. The father gives this boy or girl a parcel of land and all that, and the boy, as young as they are, 18 years, 19 years, they learn how to generate wealth from what they're given. Another Form 4 leaver, the parent sells this particular land to take the boy or girl to school, and yet they finish school, yes, but then they don't really get employment. And yet we talk about employment, education is the key to success. So which is which here? That is
the thing. Thank you. That's a good approach. At the end of the day, every child, as you grow up, and even our own children in the house, we normally tell them to become. How do they become better? It's through education, which is the key. The only key that we give to our children is education. Because they believe that the moment, because for example, myself, I used to believe that the moment I learned myself into higher education from high school, then definitely my life is going to be better. But the situation has changed over time, because you find that you finish and then at the end of the day, jobs are not available. So unlike for some parents who, like you put it, sell whatever they have, they invest it in the children starting from the beginning so that they continue. It's either way, it's a win-lose situation or a lose-win situation. Either can go rampant or can be a success.
Right.
The most important thing here is that when you empower a child with education, I'm taking the point whereby you encourage a child to have a chance to go to the university or to go to that better school, to be able to finish and learn on something. Because if you sell that particular parcel of land and this child doesn't have the management skills, that particular fund definitely is going into a waste. And like that one who has gone to school, gotten the skills and gotten the how to maneuver through the gates and be able to generate wealth. That's the best way of approaching this.
Right.
But all in all, most importantly, we need to create a situation whereby these people, all the students who are in the university have hope, because most of them have lost hope, because if they look at the moment they come out of the school and they go back maybe to the village or in the cities, and they find the people who they were looking upon who finish ahead of them are still also loitering, or they're having nothing to do to place their hands on or generate money for them. it lowers morale, so such that you find a lot of school dropout, a lot of early marriages, because of loss of morale. So the most important thing, the government needs to look at how do we accommodate. How do you accommodate immediately after campus, after colleges, after all that? How do I accommodate this child to be able to come up with something, a better person in the society? Right. I like so much the new laws that are being passed with the current August House, yeah. Such that we are talking about after Form 4 or after colleges, most of the children be accommodated into NYS to be able to put hands on work. We normally say that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So at least if we generate as a government, if the government generates something that is going to make these young ones, the moment they finish their higher learning, they land on something to be able to accommodate this particular mind so that it doesn't become so idle, because the idle one can think of anything, right, and they can land on anything, they end up losing. Right. And the most important thing also, as an individual, you as an individual who is in the university, look, there are a lot of opportunities out here. You don't need to look at the government. You look at yourself, because you are yourself. You are an original person. You're not a photocopy of your parent. You're not a photocopy of your brother. You're not a photocopy of any rich person within your society. You are yourself. So look at yourself, think critically, think outside the box, and always come up with something. I want to use myself as an example. When I was in college, I used to have a hotel business. A hotel business generated from small pocket money used to be sent by my brother Augustine to started a hotel business, to be able to, at the end of the day, when I finished school, I found out that this is the thing that made me even help and assist a lot of other students within that particular sector. Right.
But Dr. Mid this month, student leaders were complaining that there's a whole delayed disbursement of HELB loans. I mean, you talked about here earlier. So what do you really tell them? Should they not be complaining about this particular HELB loans and the whole delayed disbursement of it?
To be honest, HELB is not the solution for everything. Because delay, the complaint should come from the institution that is offering these particular services. Because I remember HELB, some of the money, like 70,000, is sent direct to the institution where you are admitted. Then you are given part of it, like 40,000, to be able to sustain, and you top up to whatever that the government sent earlier. So when it delays, or when it comes, the delay, yes, affects almost everything. But you must have a plan B. A plan B is what I'm talking about, thinking critically thinking outside the box, to be able to have something that can give you an extra income, such that at the end of the day you don't find yourself between a hard rock and not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel. Right. So most importantly, the delay is also a problem, because most, especially those children who come from very vulnerable families, they only depend on this. So the government should also come up with a clear strategy on when to disburse this particular funding, so that the children, the students don't drop out of the universities because of this delay. The delay really demoralizes, because even the institutions themselves need to have what you call current operations. They need
and that was my whole next question, because for this particular new higher education funding model that took effect in September this year. Yes. So far, what impact has it had on universities from where you sit? And even as we now get into a whole other new academic year for next year, what impact do you foresee for different institutions, both private and public?
The different, currently, because we are talking of September, right now we are in November, we're talking about 2 months. The effect had not really been harder or felt by the learners and even the institutions. Yeah. That's why you see most institutions are having crisis. They're into deficit and all that. The most important thing, and something that needs to be looked at urgently, is that the funds, before this government comes in with this new funding and all that, let them ensure that these funds are available at the institution level at the right time, because the effect has not really been felt so adequately, because the suppliers, for example, let's talk about the suppliers or even all those who wants to benefit from this, they're not getting it. So the most important thing, let's focus on availing these funds to the institution or even to the learners on time. For them to be able to be utilized and avoid these issues of strikes, issues of delayed, even lecturers. I was reading something the other day, lecturers going on strike because of not being paid. Imagine a whole professor going on strike because of not being paid. And it's not because of, it's because of delayed fundings. And this money is there. This money, can I, maybe if I use an example.
Okay.
The government has all the machinery and it has the longest hand to be able to provide all this.
Yeah.
So if this money is supposed to go to their either public or private universities, let them provide the money on time. So that we avoid these discrepancies where some universities are closing down, some students are getting involved in other things that are not even partaking to what the education, what they want school to do. So the time and the people behind it are just should also be put on strict notice. That
do you think there's goodwill? Final question before I get your final thoughts. Do you think there's goodwill? I mean, Ruto's first budget had education sector was allocated the highest.
Yes.
I mean, again, here you talk about an additional 78 billion in the whole education sector.
Yeah.
But fine. I mean, there will be goodwill on there's goodwill on the whole budget. But then now trickling down to this, even for the lecturers and everyone, is there goodwill really?
To me, I don't think. I don't think there's a goodwill because he's talking about the availability of funds or the 70 being pumped. But at the end we go to the to same things for ground. If you go on the ground, the money is not there.
Yeah.
The lecturers will tell you the money is not there. The heads of institution, the VC, I've seen the VC for Mount Kenya talking there. Will tell you the money is not there. So it's all about they're biting themselves. So let's have a clear approach in this particular manner, so that at the end of the day we don't blame ourselves on things that we do. So. The education sector, yes, we understand, has been given the highest amount according to the last budget. But if you go to the ground, you find that this money is not yet in the institutions. Right. So the institutions are still struggling to make their ends meet.
Right.
Yeah.
For your final thoughts, definitely take a look at that particular camera here. Your final thoughts, this one here.
My final thought to the government of Kenya and the students of Kenya, universities, is that, number one, to the government, we need to be the role model. The government itself, you need to be the role model to the students in our universities. Because you being the main financier of these particular students and delaying the funds to them means that you are lowering their morale to be able to achieve their dreams that they desired to become. And to the students who are in the universities and higher learning institutions, like I said before, think outside the box. Don't depend strictly on the government. Find whenever you have an opportunity to ensure that you add an additional coin to your pocket and to your education, please focus on that. There are a lot of things you can do outside the box to be able to come out to fund even this education. But all in all, let the stakeholders in education have a clear way forward on how we are able to fund these particular students.
Right.
Yeah.
Asante sana Dr. Donald Asiku Okumu, an educationist, breaking it down for us, the whole higher education funding model. And just a reminder to you, if you have those particular live pictures in Westlands, that particular whole event on Mount Kenya University breakfast meeting on education funding, education scholarship and funding. There you do have it. Asante sana, Daktari. But even as I definitely cross over to the whole other side, Fred, Floret has been quite a jam-packed show.
Yes, quite an educative block this morning from 6 a.m. up until now. We've learned so much, matters to do with even sex education. sex education in schools, and all these things. Now talking about funding in universities, definitely a very interesting conversation.
Oh, yes.
Time to have tea. It's been a heavy morning. Discussions, 6:30 to 10 a.m. And I do hope that our viewers have learned something, even from matters privatization all the way to cybersecurity issues and now higher education funding. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And even that particular whole conversation on matters sex education just reminds you that since Monday we've been having this conversation, and it continues right here on Morning Cafe. The whole 16 days of activism against